Welcome back to Green Bay Nation. Lily Zhao here alongside Andy Herman and Josh Tolentino. Since it's our last show of the year, I thought it'd be a nice way to kind of wrap up the season. Packers sitting at 6-8-1. They have one game remaining. We all know this wasn't what it was supposed to be like in 2018. So as you guys kind of look back, I want to know what was the biggest surprise and what was the biggest disappointment for you guys this season for the Green Bay Packers. So Andy, we'll start with you. Which player was kind of the biggest surprise in your mind this year?
To me, this was a no-brainer, and that was Kyler Fackrell. You know, going back preseason and kind of looking back at what was expected of Kyler Fackrell, there was questions going in if he was going to be able to beat Kendall Donnerson out for that last edge spot. And he was behind Reggie Gilbert, who was the talk of camp, and then obviously Nick Perry and Clay Matthews going into the season. To me, he has unequivocally been the best edge player on this defense this year, and it hasn't particularly been close. Obviously, he's a half sack away from 10 sacks, which I think is one of the really cool things to root for in this last week of the season. So kudos to Kyler Fackrell. He's kind of proven everyone wrong, including myself, I know, and he's just had a really, really nice season.
Yeah, he has, and like Marcus says, who needs Mac when you have Fack, right? Exactly. So, I mean, there you go. So, Josh, I mean, on the opposite end, though, what was the biggest disappointment for you this season?
I think the answer is pretty obvious, the road record for the Packers, and it's just like each game, each road game, they were in it. They were never blown out. You look at the Detroit game, it's the Mason Crosby field goals. Obviously, in LA, it's the Ty Montgomery fumble. In New England, it's the Aaron Jones fumble when they're driving the field. And for them to finish 1-7, for them to finally get that road win last week, I mean, but for them to finish 1-7, that's just, it's crazy to think about. But I mean, they didn't go throughout 2018 without securing that first road victory. So if you're a Packer fan, you got to take what you can get, and they finally got that win in New York.
Yeah, they did. And if there was no Aaron Rodgers, we could be potentially talking about an 0-8 season on the road. But, I mean, guys, as we look towards the future of this team, the Packers in the NFL draft will have an early first-round pick, and they'll have a late first-round pick thanks to the Saints. Edge rusher, offensive line, safety, those are all positions of need. Do you guys feel that with these early draft picks, especially also in the second round, that General Manager Brian Gutekunst will finally address these issues? What do you guys think?
I think definitely early on, I mean, we saw last year what Brian Gutekunst did with what they needed. They needed secondary guys. He went out and grabbed Jair Alexander. He got Josh Jackson in those first 2 rounds. I think going into this year's draft, the edge is one of the biggest needs, along with the offensive line. You mentioned safety, but I really think they need to attack the edge, especially with how much talent there is in this year's draft on that position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you guys hit the 3 positions of need by far and away. But I also think the biggest thing that this team needs is an influx of top-end talent. And I know it's super cliche and lame to say best player available, but I don't think you can pass up an all-pro type player or caliber player at a position just because you have needs somewhere else. I think Brian Gutekunst is going to be very aggressive both in free agency and in trades, and I think they have to look for ways to get a top-end talent player any way they possibly can, even if that means moving up in the draft even further than what they already are.
Yeah, and that's very different from what Ted Thompson used to do as general manager. And I mean, guys, we're talking about the draft, but you also have to look at, they need a new head coach. So down the line, I mean, whether or not it's in the next couple of weeks, it's after the Super Bowl, the Packers need to find a head coach that can handle a future Hall of Fame quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. There are a lot of names thrown out. Jim Caldwell potentially interviewed with the team. So there are a lot of names that have been thrown out there, but what do you guys feel like the Packers need to do in hiring a head coach that can handle Aaron and obviously get this offense back rolling to where it was before? You
mentioned Caldwell. We also saw reports of Pagano interviewing with the Packers. I mean, that's good initiative from Green Bay. I'm not sure if those 2 guys are either ones you want to move forward with, but definitely you want guys that are going to maximize Aaron Rodgers, you know, final 3-4, you know, prime years of his career. Obviously, he might play longer than that, but these are really what he's got left, and an offensive mind, I think, is for sure the way to go.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think someone to unlock this offense and really make things a little bit simpler for Aaron Rodgers later in his career, that he doesn't have to do 110 different things all at once. Hopefully, you know, free up some receivers. So unlocking the offense, as you mentioned, building that relationship with Aaron Rodgers, and then please, for the love of all things holy, make sure that the special teams gets addressed, because that's been a little bit of a nightmare.
Yes, it has. And I will say, though, Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, they gave Joe Philbin a glowing review in the locker room. So we'll see if they either stick with Joe Philbin, make him the permanent head coach, or obviously go the outside route and bring somebody in. All right, when we come back, Green Bay Nation will delve deep into the interwebs. Which videos got the most clicks this week? Stay tuned to find out why Kawhi Leonard's doing that with his head.